My name is Mark James. Want to welcome everyone to the January 2021 Issues Forum. Hope everyone is excited about a possibility of at least a peaceful, healthy, and prosperous 2021, and hope everybody had a really nice holidays. My name is Mark James. I'm with Cypress Real Estate Partners here in Columbia, and also the chairman of the Chamber Public Policy Committee. And we, the first Tuesday of every month, host these issues forums where we discuss and highlight critical issues or potentially critical issues for our community. The work of the Chamber is to be the voice of business for our partners and for the community, and interacting with our elected officials is a key part of that role. And so we're very happy and today and grateful for their time that they've given us to welcome three of the new Richland County Council members that we have really just getting started. And so hearing some of their story and their goals and ambitions for the county for 2021 and beyond. So today we've got Gretchen Barron, Cheryl English will hopefully be calling in, Jesica Mackey, and Derrek Pugh. And the fifth of those council members will be Overture Walker. We're thinking he may be able to call in, and if he does, we'll include him in our discussions. But he did have a conflict this morning that earlier. So with that, a piece of housekeeping on this. Due to the size of the crowd we have and the number of participants we've got, as well as the need for a hard stop at 8:45, we would ask that anybody who has any questions submit those through the chat feature in Zoom. We're going to keep the microphones off for everybody except for our panelists in order just to try to keep it as efficient as possible. Again, we have an 8:45 hard stop. The council folks have very generously given us some time this morning, knowing that they've got an orientation that starts at 9, and then first council meeting is tonight. So it's a busy day in their new roles, and we again are very appreciative of them being here today. Among the panelists, probably the easiest thing to do with three of us is I'll ask a question and then just call on you to answer. That way you kind of know when it's your turn, and we'll just mix it up a little bit from a order standpoint. So with that, I'd ask that you please introduce yourself with your name and the district, maybe some brief description of where your district is, what areas of town the county it encompasses, your profession, and maybe a little brief comment on what influenced you or motivated you to run for county council. So with that, maybe we'll start with Jesica.
Yeah, good morning. I'm Jesica Mackey. I am representing District 9. District 9 is in Northeast Columbia. Subdivisions or neighborhoods that are most common people know of would be Wildwood, Spring Valley, Wood Creek Farms, parts of Lake Carolina, and then also parts of Blythewood. So all of us here today this morning actually have parts of Northeast Columbia that touch each other. I am a senior project advisor with MP Strategy. Is a strategic communications firm located here in Columbia, South Carolina. And let's see, I'm married. I have 2 kids that attend Richland 2 School District. And I decided to run a little different, I think, than some of my fellow council members. I kind of got into the race late in the sense that the former Councilman Chip Jackson passed away. And then I decided to run in a special election that happened back in September. And so at that time, as we all know, we've been dealing with COVID for a few months by that point, and kind of just sitting around in my house with my kids and thinking about, what truly is going to happen with the future of Richland County. You know, I'm committed to being here in Richland County. I have 2 young kids. My husband and I bought our house here, our first house ever, and are committed to the community. And, you know, once COVID, it kind of changed your mindset of how you look about things in your community and moving forward. And I kind of just said and thought about it. I said, you know, I don't want to be one of those people that continuously complains about, well, why isn't Richland County better? Why can't we have more? Why not this? Why not that? And, you know, I said, I have the experience. I've worked in local government before. And I just felt like, you know, this is one of those times now more than ever where I need to step up. I don't want to sit and complain anymore. And so I decided to run. First time ever running for office, and with a special election, it was a very, very quick turnaround. I think we had like, you know, 2 weeks from initial filing until the election, but it was really a great decision. I'm very excited that, you know, voters decided to vote for me and that I'm here and happy to serve alongside the other council members that you'll meet this morning.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Gretchen?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Gretchen Barron, and I will be representing Richland County Council District 7, which runs from North Main, I-20, all the way up to Blythewood at I-77. Come on around the Killian Road and go up around Hardscrabble Road to Farrell Road to Park Lane. It's real spread out, and I'm excited about this opportunity. I am a local business owner, and I own Barron Academy, which is an after-school summer camp private tutoring program that works with high poverty, low performing schools throughout the state of South Carolina. It is a natural passion for me to be able to help people and to really advocate for those who don't have a voice. Therefore, it was a natural niche. When making a decision to run for office, our seat has had someone in it, you know, but we've just wanted more in our district, and we wanted representation that represented the entire district, not portions of the district. And like so many others who run for office, you sit by, as I say, you sit by the stuff long enough and you gripe and complain, and nothing seems to get done. And so, you know, I decided to run, not ever running for office before, but, you know, always seeing myself as someone who would, I'm a behind the scenes person. I will push you all day. And so really being pushed to the forefront has been different for me, but I'm enjoying every bit of it because I do believe there's lots of work to be done in Richland County. Like many of my colleagues, you know, I've been here in Richland County for, you know, well over 20 years. I've raised my children. I'm raising my children here. I've been in the district most of my adult life after graduating from the University of South Carolina. And so I stand united with not only the 5 council members who are here today, but the other 6 that we will join tonight, hoping that we can move Richland County forward.
Thank you. Derrek?
Good morning. First of all, I would like to thank the Chamber for allowing me this opportunity to sit on this panel this morning and talk about some of the issues that we have here in Richland County. My name is Derrek Pugh. I will be representing Richland County District number 2, as we coined the phrase now, the mighty District 2. We're excited about the opportunity to help change Richland County. We had a pivotal moment right now in Richland County where we, as the new 5 council members, can come in and facilitate some change. In my everyday life, I'm a director at a public military school, which brings me much joy. For over 20-something years, I've worked in the capacity of children's programs, and to have the capacity to be able to work on the state level with the South Carolina Youth Challenge Academy out of the South Carolina Military Department, one of the best National Guards in the country, it gives me great joy to help the youth in South Carolina. Some of the things that we're trying to do is make sure that we show a united front and just change the narrative from what it's been for so long here in Richland County. I am committed to serving the community. I have done so in so many in the past few years. My municipality experience here in Blythewood, South Carolina, has given me an opportunity to understand government And one of the reasons why I ran for office is because I had the opportunity to live in both parts of my district. One, as a young college student finishing college, and two, as a family man, where me and my wife decided to build our home here in Blythewood. So you get to see that there's disparities on both sides. And to my colleague, Jessica just said, you know, if you're going to sit around and complain, the next thing to do is to offer yourself up for service. And so that's why I'm here, to offer myself up for service, to see if I can change some of those things that have been happening or that I've had the opportunity to feel in Richland County.
Great, great. Cheryl, I'm not sure if you were on when I had mentioned the question, but just to please introduce yourself with your name, your district, your profession, and maybe what influenced or motivated you to run. Cheryl, you muted.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Good morning. I am Cheryl English from District 10, and what motivated me to run was my community. They came and got me, and I tell everybody, one of the members of the community that I work with said, "Don't you want to run for county council?" I'm like, "No." And they were like, "Why not? You'd be good." I said, "I didn't say I wouldn't be good. I said I don't want to run." So this was not something that I aspired to do. I was always working behind the scene in the community. I'm a minister at Mount Moriah Baptist Church, and that was my passion. And just working from there, teaching Bible study, and I just didn't aspire to do it. But then when I prayed about it, God was like, "Yeah, this is a direction I want you to take." So it is with that encouragement and that support that I'm here. And so it's been a great journey. It's been awesome. I have just seen him open doors, and I'm excited about working with everyone. With the five new council members, I know it's just going to be a great time. I'm looking forward to restoring the trust, or rebuilding that trust that that the citizens need from Richland County. I think we're going to do an amazing job. I think we have the ability, the wherewithal to just push things forward. As far as what I do, I work with DD Council, that is Developmental Disabilities Council with South Carolina. I am a minister and I am a business owner. I own Gemini, Mind, Body, and Spirit. And so I just enjoy what I do, working with the Sweet Potato Festival, working in the community, and just excited to be here, just excited for the opportunity to serve. So.
Great, thank you. We're excited you're here too. And Overture Walker, thank you for coming, and glad you're here, and the floor is yours.
Good morning to you, Mr. James, and I see Mr. Blackstone on as well, and Ms. Baskins and Ms. McPherson. Let me just say this, Ms. McPherson is very persistent. That is how I would describe Ms. McPherson. She's very persistent, and that's an excellent quality, by the way.
Thank you, sir, for acknowledging that.
So there was no way I was going to miss the forum this morning, but thank you all for allowing me and my colleagues to be a part of this. I know that the Chamber has been a very integral and instrumental force in the way of, far as job creation, or at least trying to create the environment, for job creation and economic growth, not just in the city or the county, but throughout the state and actually across the country. I mean, I believe that is the aim of the Chamber of Commerce, is to sort of try to sort of bridge any sort of chasm or divide between government and the private sector, so that way we can have a type of growth that allows businesses to be profitable, but at the same time improving the quality of life, for citizens. And so I'm actually looking forward to not just governing, but also the opportunity to work closely with the Chamber and see how we can collaborate to make Richland County a place where businesses want to come, but at the same time, a county where we're improving the quality of life through the creation of jobs that pay a living wage. Now, I have been a resident of Richland County for 34 years, I believe. I'm 40 years old, so I believe we moved here in 1986. It's when my mother relocated our family to Richland County. I grew up, I believe, in Councilwoman English's district in Southeast Columbia, or Lower Richland, as we call it. But I grew up there, went to public schools, came out of Lower Richland High School, went to the University of South Carolina for my undergraduate, and eventually matriculated at the law school there. And directly out of law school, I began, I guess you can say, a record of public service. My first job out of law school was at the Richland County Public Defender Office, where I represented individuals who didn't have the resources. And I say didn't have the resources because oftentimes we may conflate poverty with lack of resources. But many of the kids or folk I represented sometimes were working people who just didn't make enough money to afford a private attorney. And then there were folk I represented who indeed were just indigent. But I started out as a public servant for Richland County. And again, as a public defender, you make sure that folks without resources have access to justice. From there, I went to the city attorney's office for the city of Columbia, where I worked for a couple of years. And during my time as a city attorney, I was a prosecutor for the city. So certainly I have an interest in keeping communities safe and working closely with law enforcement. We all know that businesses don't want to go anywhere if the communities aren't safe. So I think that is certainly a prerequisite to economic development or attracting businesses. And then also during my time at the city attorney's office, I had the luxury of actually doing a fair amount of civil litigation. And so my task in that capacity was protecting taxpayer dollars. And I'm quite sure we all have an appreciation for that in light of many of the stories that have been written, about the county, and not just the county, but government in general, even at the state level and the federal level with earmarks, just this conversation around fiscal responsibility. Well, that was my task as an assistant city attorney, was to protect taxpayer dollars. And then eventually I made my way into the private sector, where I worked for a small plaintiffs firm here in town, representing ordinary citizens against insurance companies, big corporations, and various governmental entities. And representing them, making sure that justice tilted in their favor as well, balancing the playing field. And then eventually I started my own law practice where, we're primarily workers' compensation, personal injury, criminal defense as well. But again, the type of law where I'm representing ordinary people and making sure that we are tilting the scales of justice in their favor. And then also I served as a municipal judge. And I did that for 4 years for the city of Columbia. And that was the highlight of my legal career, just having the opportunity to administer justice on behalf of the citizens of Richland County, the city of Columbia, and do it in a way that is fair, that is balanced, and you don't have any enemies to punish or any friends to reward. And I certainly believe we need that sort of decision-making and analysis, or approach rather, in our local government. And so I made the decision to run probably around the end of 2019. I was, not that I was looking to run, but when Councilman Manning decided that he would not seek re-election, and then I was hearing all the stories and the various controversies about the county, I said, well, the county's got some problems. And as a lawyer, that's what I do. People come to me when they have a problem. We're problem solvers. I said, they need some folks who can make tough decisions without enemies to punish or friends to reward. Well, I've done that as a judge. And then I think the citizens of Richland County needed an advocate, someone on council who was going to advocate for their interests and do what was in the best interest of the county, not just in my specific district, but countywide as well. So I made the decision to leave my perch as a city judge and offer myself for public service in a much wider capacity. And I'm glad that I've done it. I'm looking forward to the opportunities. I know that we've had some crises in Richland County, but I'm the type of person, I view every crisis rather, as an opportunity. So again, thank you this morning, and I'm excited for what lies ahead, excited for my colleagues as well.
Great, thank you, appreciate it. Now I want to touch on a little bit of the fiscal management of the county affairs, if we can. A lot of the more recent press that we've read about has been centered around the credit or the procurement cards that the council members have, as well as the penny tax and the transportation funds that have been raised. And I'm just, I think we'd all love to hear maybe some of your thoughts on any actionable items, anything beyond sort of the obvious on this, that, what are your positions on those cards, and, what type of reforms do we need to pursue on the transportation funds and things like that. And so with that, maybe we'll start with you, Ms. English.
I have to unmute myself first. One of the things that I guess I feel strongly about, since just working with the state for over 30 years, we have had this system in place as long as I can remember. Since I've been with the Developmental Disabilities Council, I have had a state credit card in my wallet for the past 7 years. And we sign documents stating that we understand the use, we understand the setup and how it's made. They give us training. And with that, there's a trust that goes with that. And there's a responsibility that goes with that. And I feel like as leaders on the council and in the public, that we have to maintain that trust. We have to be responsible for all the things that we've been given and all the things that are placed in our hands. And so I think that's where I stand on that, just having that integrity to make sure that we establish that trust, that we follow those guidelines. And these are the same guidelines that we expect of our citizens. And so nothing less than that, just making sure that we abide by those rules that are set. And if we need to establish more and set more protocols, then we need to do that. So I know going in, we're going to have to review some things. And I'm just excited about rebuilding that trust and moving forward and great things to come. So. Okay.
One brief comment, if we can try to limit our comments, just we're almost 75% of the way through our time, and I just want to make sure we've got enough time to cover a number of these items. With that in mind, Derrek, do you have any particular comments about the cards and the transportation tax?
Yes, sir. I totally agree with Councilwoman English. We need to really look at some guidelines, but it's physical responsibility on the person that actually has the car. I've worked for the state for maybe 10 to 15 years, and I've had the opportunity to be able to have an expense account and spend money from a state expense account, and you have to make sure that you're being responsible for it. What I do want to say is, I think we need to sit down and we need to do a true assessment of where we stand as far as the penny and the P card, and make decisions that are going to be the lasting decisions, not something that's a Band-Aid, putting a Band-Aid over a wound. And it's going to take some hard conversation, and it's going to take us sitting down and realizing that it's not about our personal feelings or about the optics of what it is. It's about making sure that we give the citizens in Richland County exactly what they need when it comes to us being responsible with their money.
Great, thank you. Jessica?
Yes. As far as the P card, I mean, just echoing what's already been said, I think, we definitely early on need to look at the current rules and protocols set in place that relate to the P card right now at the county, evaluate those rules and really come up with some new processes that hold each and every person accountable, but also creates that true transparency on what is and is not appropriate. Cheryl and Derrek both have mentioned that, they have some, rules that have been used at the state level. And so I think there are some already best practices around the state that we can pull from, and just using that to create a new document moving forward, I think is going to be very helpful in relation to the P card. As far as the penny program recently has been brought in-house and is being managed by county staff now. And, I think to continue along that process, we want to make sure we're managing the program correctly in-house and being transparent with citizens as far as what are the status of each project? Are we on time with completion? What's next? How much money are we collecting? How much money are we spending? And sharing that with the public on a regular basis so that everyone is equally informed at all times on what's being done. And if there's a delay, we need to be able to explain to citizens why there's a delay. So I think the penny program could be, it's moving in the right direction. And I think this year and next year we'll continue to help staff and come to ways to help move it in that right direction moving forward.
Great. Overture?
Yes, so, I mean, I don't want to belabor points that have already been made. I mean, I pretty much agree with just about everything that's been said by my colleagues. Certainly that there needs to be new protocols or maybe tighter, stricter protocols put in place with respect to the P card. But ultimately, rules are only as good as, you can have all these rules, but if you don't have folk adhering to those rules, then if there's no accountability, what does it really matter in the end? Sort of like, with laws. I mean, laws only matter if they have teeth or if they have some sort of impact. And so while we need new guidelines and protocols, we want to make sure that it's useful, it has some sort of impact, it's going to hold people accountable. As for me, I will not be accepting the P card. Not because I don't trust myself. I certainly trust myself. But I want to send the message to voters that change has come to Richland County. Not just in the incarnation of 5 new council members. And for people who don't know, that's half of county council. So half of the council will be, or is rather, new faces. And so this may come across as somewhat of maybe a symbolic gesture, but I think that we need to do something to send the message to voters that there is change in Richland County. And I think one of the most impactful ways we can do that is to just not accept the P card. That's not putting anyone on the spot. But I know for me, I want voters to know that there is changes. So I will not be accepting the P card, at least until there are some tighter restrictions put in place. As for the transportation penny program, Councilwoman Mackey, she hit it on the head. It's on the right track. I believe that the lasting legacy of former Councilman Chip Jackson is rescoping the penny program. That was done back in May in May of 2020 with under the leadership of Chairman Livingston as well. They rescoped 3 major projects, which pretty much covered just about all the penny projects. And that modification will not only allow for projects to be completed under budget, but we're going to end up most likely with a projected surplus of $56 million, which should be more than sufficient to cover any sort of cost overruns. Again, to echo what Councilwoman Mackey said, just making sure we keep that we keep tabs on the program, that we keep to make sure that projects are being completed timely, but then also we want to keep constituents informed about what is happening with the program and for projects. I can tell you that in District 8 right now, we have the largest penny project to date that is taking place with the expansion of Hard Scrabble Road. But most of my constituents don't know that. They ask me I get asked all the time and on the campaign trail, when are we going to get some of those penny funds in our district? Well, if you drive down Hard Scrabble Road, you're actually, you're seeing it every day, but many people are just oblivious to that. So figuring out ways that we can get more information out to constituents about the program, I think would assuage a lot of that angst that may be out there regarding the program.
Great, thank you. Gretchen.
Thank you. So I'll take a different approach. And, because my colleagues have definitely painted a great picture around the facts of whether it's the P card or the penny tax. But I do think that what we have to remain true to is that rules are for everyone. And when these rules are put in place, then everyone must abide by them. And so therefore we must be held accountable. And when we decided to run for office, whether anyone wants to admit it or not, it does put you in a different status, it puts you in on a different platform. And so we have to hold ourselves accountable to the citizens who have voted us in. I would also like to add that one thing that all business owners know is that we evaluate where we are, we monitor, and we adjust. I think that Richland County in the past, we can improve on that. There's some systems that need to be put in place so that as we put these systems in place, then there are systems that noted that, yes, okay, we did this, we did this, we did this, and we must report what's being done. And so some of the gaps that we're experiencing in our county is that work is being done, but it's not being reported out. So we have to do a better job of communicating, not only amongst each other and amongst our staff, but we also need to get this information out to the community. We've been talking now just amongst ourselves for the last few months, and we're charged to change the narrative of Richland County because there's lots of great things that are going on in Richland County. However, when you turn the news on and when you open up the newspaper, that's not what you see. So we've not heard the story that, you know, the penny tax has been revamped since May. We had not heard that story. So it's charged to us as a council to put systems in place and then therefore get the information out and communicate with the citizens of Richland County.
Great, thank you. All good comments, and obviously I think there's a lot of trust to be rebuilt, and I think y'all are all on the right track with that, and thank you for those comments. Next, I want to pivot to the tax study that the City of Columbia has just recently released that highlights how uncompetitive our property taxes are in the Midlands, and how we compare unfavorably to some of the other communities, larger communities in the state. The study also makes some recommendations, such as elimination of selective tax breaks, coordination of school finances, and the elimination of operational inefficiencies and duplications of services between the city and the county. And, you know, this is, when you get your tax bill, we all see it. There's a whole lot of layers to this reason why our taxes are where they are. And it's going to take a whole, it's not just a City of Columbia fix. There's a whole lot of folks that have got to come to the table to include the county and the school districts and things like that, those groups. I'm interested in your thoughts on that. How willing and how much are you going to advocate for us exploring some of these and making some of the changes that need to happen to make our tax structure, property tax structure, more competitive with other places in the state. And with that, why don't we start with you, Councilman Walker?
Thank you for the question, Mr. James. And in fact, I read the article in the Post and Courier about that study. I haven't actually read the study itself, but from my understanding, it was commissioned by the City of Columbia and was put together by a rather renowned economist, who I believe may at one point work for the Department of Revenue. So certainly the person who put the study together knows what she is doing. I can't sit here and say that the study itself is a panacea. I don't know that yet, because again, I mean, my knowledge is based off of what I read in the article, the Post and Courier, but certainly there were a lot of facts, it seemed, and bullet points there. And it seems like that's perhaps a good starting point to begin talking about what can we do to make Richland County more attractive to businesses? What can we do to make Richland County more attractive to that median, I guess that prime median working age is, I believe it was 25 to 50, if I'm not mistaken, or somewhere in that range. But my takeaway, you know, from the study was Act 388. That was kind of my takeaway, and that's not discarding anything else in the study, but just as Act 388 has been the bane of existence for the business community. If you talk to school district officials or elected officials, they would tell you that Act 388 has also been the bane of their existence as well. Just as it has shifted the burden of, the burden for, the burden to commercial and industrial and rental properties when it comes to funding school operations. It has also limited the school district's ability as well to generate revenue to fund school operations. And so in essence, what you end up with is almost like a domino effect. So as a result of that, the school districts say, okay, well, the legislature, pursuant to Act 388, well, they're supposed to, what exchange for, I guess, what exchange for, I'm having a moment here. But in any event, the legislature decided that it would, in exchange for, I guess, providing tax relief for those properties that are owner occupied, they would they would designate a 1% state sales tax, and that's supposed to make up for the funding shortfall. Well, if you talk to school district officials, they would tell you that the 1% state sales tax, it's been insufficient in terms of allowing them to make up for any sort of funding shortfalls. So as a result, they're having to raise the millage rate, and they come to Richland County Council, to get permission to raise their millage rate to make up for the funding shortfall. And in their minds, if the legislature were meeting its demand or the mandate for any sort of reimbursement, then they wouldn't be asking for an increase in the millage rate. So to me, it seems like Act 388 is probably at the heart of all of this. I'm not putting it all solely on Act 388, but again, when you start talking about taxes in Richland County, school funding, and what have you, I believe nearly 60% of the budget, whether it's city or county, most of that is funding for education. So yeah, I'm certainly open and we're willing to listen to how we can actually become a little more competitive. How can we compete with Greenville? How can we compete with Rock Hill? How can we compete with Charleston in terms of taxes here in Richland County? But again, if you talk to local school officials, they will say, well, if Act 388, unfortunately, and they believe that the state has not met the mandate as far as with respect to funding shortfalls, and that's why they're having to come to county council to ask for an increase in the millage. That with respect to, I guess, merging of services between the city and the county, I think we all know that conversation has been had now for quite some time. I want to say they've been having those conversations probably before I graduated college. Normally that process is protracted. It's very political, but I think in the interim, what we can do is look for ways that the county and city can work together, much like how we do with EMS services, fire services, or the 911 dispatch. Perhaps what we could do as well is maybe have the city as well as the county planning departments begin to work together or figure out ways that those two can work maybe a little more closely together. I think in the interim, at least what we can do is just sort of look for ways where both entities can work together, but at the same time, saving money for taxpayers and still continue to have the conversation about merging services. So those are my thoughts.
Great. Thank you. And Cheryl, again, just love to get everybody's thoughts on this. So if we can be brief on it, but we'd love to hear what you think.
Well, one of the things, and I agree, you made the statement just in the question about bringing everyone to the table. We've got to do an assessment, find out the strengths and weaknesses of those competitive areas or those areas where we're not so competitive, brainstorm, and then prioritize. And then kind of like Councilman Walker said, just put those things in order and just make sure that we focus on what's necessary, not necessarily kind of continuing the same political process, but what can we do? How can we make it different? And I think with 5 fresh eyes, we can all come up with something unique or bring a different perspective to it where we can address some things. We don't know what it'll bring, but at the same time, just being able to come to the table and talk and seeing what's at the heart of everything or the heart of everyone, um, according to those, the school finances, all the things, the services that are needed, the duplications, the layers, that goes on in state government as well. And so with the duplication of state and federal services, that's, as Councilman Walker said, that's political. And so how do we get around that in making sure that we deliver the best services? So
Right. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Gretchen?
So I've been screaming this from the mountaintop, and that is that Richland County is Richland County because it is comprised of 7 municipalities. Somewhere along the lines, the municipalities are somewhat outshining the county. So in essence, it's like my son saying that they're the parents and I'm really the parent. It's very difficult to say that how can you have, I'll take City of Columbia because it's no secret. City of Columbia, it does a great job in leading the way in lots of things here in the Midlands, but it's in Richland County. So it's time for us to come to the table with all of the municipalities and to have this conversation because we are in a critical state right now, whether anybody wants to admit it or not. In a few days, property taxes will be due. The one thing that we're talking about, property taxes will be due, and these millage rates that are that fund a lot of these programs, we're going to see a big difference because for the last 10 months, we've been in a global pandemic. And so there will be individuals who usually paid their tax bills on time that will not be able to pay them this time because they've been unemployed for months. So I think that now is the time to have this conversation. I'm not going to get into the nuts and bolts. Councilman Walker did an excellent job of articulating those things, but I think now is the time that we do need to have this critical conversation centered around how can 7 municipalities come together at the table, work together collaboratively, eliminate waste, duplication of services, so that if it does mean that we can cut some taxes and reorganize some things. I think if any time is now that should take place, now it should take place because we're going to need that as a county. Because there is just, I'm very concerned about the state of the economic status right here in Richland County coming, I like to say coming out of a global pandemic, but in the midst of it right now.
Great. I appreciate it. And unfortunately, Jessica and Derrek, we committed to a hard stop at 8:45. We're a minute or two over now. And so look forward to continuing to engage all of y'all on this issue, among others that are important to the chamber. And it's an exciting time in Richland County, as several of you have made the point. This is a significant turnover on the county council and a real opportunity for a fresh start. And I know I speak for myself, and I know a number of other folks. It's an exciting time, and grateful to each of you for your willingness to serve. And I know it's at a great personal sacrifice, and we appreciate it very much. And I do want to mention that the next Issues Forum will be on Tuesday, February the 2nd. And hopefully we will continue to see these things be well participated in 2021. With that, Carl, the President, CEO of the Chamber, do you have any additional comments that you'd like to share with us?
No, I just want to thank the newly elected members for being with us today, and Susan for her perseverance. So we thank you all very much, and we look forward to working with you. If we could do anything, please don't hesitate to give us a call. And good luck today, and we look forward to keeping in touch.
Great. Thanks again very much. Everybody have a great day and a great year.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.